Hello and welcome to the big picture. In what could have long-term repercussions on how natural resources of the country are allocated, apart from impact on various sectors, the Supreme Court has cancelled 214 of the 218 coal allocations done since 1993. The Apex Court had on August 25th held that all coal blocks allocations since 1993 by various regimes at the centre have been made illegally and arbitrarily. The bench also directed the companies which allocated coal blocks but had not operationalized them to pay a compensation to the government for the loss to the exchequer. It accepted the findings of the CAG, which came to the conclusion that the loss of rupees 295 per ton was caused due to the non-operation of the mines. The UPA government, which had opposed in the court the cancellation of the licenses during the hearings earlier, had said nearly rupees 2 lakh crore had already been invested by the companies which had got the allocations. We will look at this order of the Supreme Court and what would be the impact of it and what will be the future of the coal industry and also all those industries dependent on it. To discuss this, I have with me Ajay Dua, former Secretary, Industries and Commerce, Government of India, Prashant Bhushan, advocate in the Supreme Court, who has been a petitioner in this case, K.N. Bhatt, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, and K. Sachidananda Murthy, Resident Editor of The Week magazine. Welcome to all of you. Prashant, this is a major victory for you. Yes. And many of the people who have taken up this case in the Supreme Court and have followed it up very closely. But please first explain what are the main features of this judgment.
Firstly, it's not a major victory for me. I think it's a major victory for transparency and accountability for the people of this country. It's a major victory for the people also because at least now the people of this country will be able to derive some value of these natural resources which were earlier being just handed out to crony capitalists for nothing. So therefore, what the judgment says is that all these allocations from 1993 till 2009 were all arbitrary, given without preparing any guidelines or criteria as to how inter se priority among the various applicants would be made, without even seeing the eligibility of these companies, without verifying their claims, on the basis of nepotistic considerations, on the basis of approaches made by powerful ministers, etc. So therefore, the Supreme Court in its order of 25th August had said that all these allocations are illegal. However, they had left this question open as to whether what would be the consequence of this declaration of illegality, whether those allottees who had started operating these, who had got leases and had started operating the leases and were extracting coal, etc., whether they would be allowed some breathing time, whether they would be allowed to continue, if so, on what terms, these questions were left open.
Right.
Today, the Supreme Court's judgment clarifies all these issues and holds that all these allottees, their allocations, whether they had already got leases, whether they were already extracting coal or not, all these stand cancelled. However, about 36 allottees who were already extracting coal, they have been given 6 months' time as a kind of transition time to be able to wind down their operations. And they have been told that they will have to pay 295 rupees a ton for all the coal that they have extracted from those leases till date, as well as whatever they extract in the next 6 months, by which time they have to wind down their operations. The only 4 leases which have been spared out of the 218 allottees are 2 leases or 2 allocations in favor of 2 public sector corporations, that is NTPC and Steel Authority, who had not entered into joint ventures with private companies.
Okay.
Most of the public sector companies who had been allotted leases had entered into joint ventures with private companies and had in fact transferred the major interest in these leases to those private companies. All those have been cancelled, all those have been told to stop within the next 6 months. Only these two public sector as well as two other what are called ultra mega power companies, leases given to ultra mega power plants, where the bidding for power was on the basis that you will be given a coal block from which you can produce the coal for use in your power plant, and thereafter you had to bid for the lowest tariff.
Right.
There are two such blocks which the Supreme Court in its earlier judgment had said that they can continue. However, they will not be entitled to divert the coal from these blocks for any other purpose except for producing electricity which they have to supply at the rates at which they had bid.
Right. So these two companies, these two private companies, one, which are they? One is the Reliance, the other one is?
I think both are with Reliance as far as I know.
Okay.
But in any case, they have been told very clearly that they cannot divert the coal and they have to use the coal only for producing electricity which they have to supply at the rate at which they had bid.
Okay. Okay, thanks. You have given an outline of what the judgment is. I'll come back to you, Prashant. Mr. Dua, was this expected? We had discussed this when the actual judgment came. But, you know, we thought that there will be some amount of window space open. This kind of window space which has been provided for 6 months, you think it will be enough for making alternate arrangements? And what will be the impact of this judgment?
Let me start by congratulating Mr. Prashant Bhushan for very assiduously and systematically following the matter all these years, and for the judgment which was delivered a couple of weeks ago and which has today the final stamp of approval has been put on it. I think had it not been for the PIL which his foundation had filed, we may not have been able to reach this end. To my mind, the judgment is a bit stronger than what was anticipated.
Harsher.
Yes, I didn't want to use that word deliberately because there was, when the judgment was earlier given, there was a hope that the 12 ultra mega power stations might be spared because the criteria for all 12 of them was to be bidding.
Right.
All 12 actually haven't been bid so far. Only 7 have been bid, other 5 are in the pipeline. But the court has taken a holistic view of saying which are the ones which had gone in production.
Right.
The other 7, even though bidding had taken place, those coal blocks mining hadn't started. So those 2 blocks the court has covered. And of the blocks allotted to National Thermal Power Corporation and the Steel Authority,
right,
only 1 each has been found to be in order, though they have also been allotted many more blocks. But again, unless
they went into joint venture with others.
Joint ventures, production hasn't started.
Okay.
Some of them, they were. And third, I think why it's harsher, the word which you used, is that the government had made a plea or urged the court to spare 44 of those blocks, 37 or 36 which were already in production, and other 8 which were getting close to production. So the court hasn't made an exception there. It has applied the principle of non-transparency, unfairness, or allocations which were not in public interest right across. And of the 218 blocks, it's held as many as 214 to be not complying with the principles of equity. And to that extent, I would say the judgment is much stronger than anyone might have expected. Though I do remember Mr. Prashant Bhushan saying it when we last met here, saying all the blocks would be cancelled.
Right.
So I think his soothsaying or his assessment was far better than of most of us. And let me just, before really, how to handle the situation is going to be the next question. But to my mind, we have now got a firm basis on how to proceed further in the matter, and there are a couple of alternatives on how to go forward, and I'm looking forward to the discussion on that today.
Okay. Mr. Bhatt, what kind of legal implications will this will this judgment have? Everybody is saying that this is a landmark judgment. what kind of legal implications this will have in future, not only for allocating coal blocks, but for also other natural resources?
Well, it's a clear warning that those who jump the queue may not enjoy the benefit for long. That is one of the major messages of this judgment.
Right.
And normally speaking, on 25th August itself, this judgment would have come, this cancellation.
Right.
But the court took time. You know, the principle is that even though a particular action is illegal, still the court has the power to mold the relief so that minimum harm is caused to the country.
Right.
Or the public at large. Basically, to consider these things, the Supreme Court kept it for nearly a month now,
right.
And thinking over that one, and probably found that there is no alternative except cancelling the virtually wholesale. Even the 4 mines which have been kept there, I understand that they are only for about 6 months. So now the process
they are not for
of
6 months. I don't think they are for 6 months.
Or reallocating it in. Anyway, I could not get the copy of the judgment, so
okay.
I'm told that because even otherwise it is anyway public sector undertakings,
right?
And therefore there is nothing to complain about that. But the position is that the message, if you wanted to ask, is that don't jump the queue and let there be a transaction, arm's length transaction in all dealings with the government, and no under the table, but everything should be over the table,
right,
above the table,
right. So
that mind is the message.
What about the implications on other natural resources, allocations of will this become the benchmark?
It will be yes, it will be. It will be in transparency in public dealings, and an equal-handed dealing and giving opportunity to everybody to participate is the sine qua non of public dealings.
Right.
And this is the message which the court has now given to in respect of all resources allocation. And obviously, without saying so much, the court has already said that all these allotments were arbitrary in the sense that you pick and choose, and the transactions have been faulted.
Okay.
And therefore, whether it is coal or any other natural resource, the legal principle applicable will be the same.
Okay. Okay. Sachi, political fallout of this, from 1993 onwards means virtually the entire political spectrum is covered. Nobody can blame anybody now.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, it's very interesting that the present government is saying that, they have welcomed the judgment, we'll start afresh and things like that. But nobody is going to be left out.
Everybody's hand has been blackened in this.
Because
as the CAG reports on this, the discussions in Parliament and what Mr. Prashant Bhushan and others have brought before the court and all that, that means governments ruled by different parties at the center and the states have all been involved in this, what is now everybody is saying crony capitalism.
Right.
They recommended the cases of their cronies,
right,
got it done, bend them. So it has happened from a single party government of the Congress to the United Front government supported by the Congress, then NDA government, then again the UPA government. So it is there. So which means this is also a time for introspection for all political parties, because this is something which will now be, as Mr. Prashant Bhushan said, the vigilance is going to be much more now on anything the government does. And also the transparency which is coming now, that will be enforced. Now, everybody will be looking at how the NDA government will handle it.
Absolutely.
Because NDA government will also be under tremendous pressure from various quarters. So, how will you make it very transparent? How will you allocate it? Because you know that it will be again scrutinized by the CAG, it will be scrutinized by the courts, it will be... So, they have to take a very, very big decision. It will take them to evolve it.
Right.
It's a test of their political morality now.
It will test their political morality. Absolutely. Prashant, I want to come to another issue. 2 lakh, the UPA government, during the hearings had made this statement that nearly 2 lakh crores have been invested by these companies for starting the operation. Some of them have started, some are in the process of starting. So this 2 lakh crores is going to be lost as far as these private entities are concerned. So to that extent, if they have indulged in crony capitalism, if they have been given unfairly these coal blocks, then they are suffering because they are going to lose this huge amount. But what about the liability of the people who have been responsible for these allocations within the government? Does the judgment say anything about it?
You see, the liability of those who were responsible for nepotistic allotments or for taking some consideration, etc., that is involved in any kind of offence under the Prevention of Corruption Act, etc., that is being investigated simultaneously by the CBI
right.
Under the monitoring of the court. So far as this figures of loss, etc., are concerned, firstly, these claims are not on the basis of what they have invested in the coal mines themselves. The claim about the coal mines themselves was only about 8,000 crores. This 2 lakh crore figure is coming from what is being claimed by these companies about their having invested in the end use plants
right.
for steel, power, etc. Those claims firstly are quite questionable, because in a few cases when we examined those claims, we found that they were highly exaggerated. But let us assume that they have spent a considerable amount on these end use plants. Now they can get the coal from other places. It is not necessary. Everybody who runs a steel plant in this country does not have a captive coal mine. In fact, most people who run steel plants don't have captive coal mines. Therefore, these people were being given an unfair advantage of being given a captive coal mine for free.
Right.
That advantage has now been taken away from them. So they will buy coal from the open market from wherever, either from domestic sources or from international market, just as everybody else is buying it, whoever has a steel plant or a power plant, etc. Secondly, if they feel that their power plant or steel plant has now become unviable because they have lost the coal block, then they should bid for because these coal blocks will be auctioned now. They can bid for them, they can still get them. Alternatively, they can sell their end use plant to the company which gets the coal block if they feel that the coal block is so critical for the operation of their steel or power plant. They should sell the steel or power plant to whoever gets the coal block.
Okay. Mr. Dua, would you agree with Prashant that, they have...
Girish.
Yes, Mr. Bhatt.
Yeah, because how many banks will be coming out with how much of bad debts are now coming to the open?
Exactly.
Will have to be seen now.
We have to see that.
Investment made in this one will all be by the public sector banks.
Absolutely. That is one sector which will have to be watched closely. Yes, Mr. Dua.
I think...
would you agree with Prashant?
Yes, by and large, I would agree. In any case, we need
these exaggerated figures.
Totally. I would say, I would be emphatic about it. 2 lakh crore is a highly exaggerated figure. From what one knows, about 20,000 megawatts of capacity is in the pipeline, which will get
20,000 megawatts of
power capacity multiplied by 4.5, it's under 100,000 crores, of which public sector undertakings, as has been pointed out, public sector banks take a major hit.
Right.
But having said that, let me just put this coal position in a somewhat of a larger perspective. We consumed last year about 665 million tons of coal in this country.
Okay.
Of which exactly 465 was produced by Coal India.
Okay.
Which 200 million tons, 140 got imported, 35 million tons got produced by these captive coal mines. Only 35 million tons was produced by these 37 or 38 mines.
Okay.
The remaining 20 million tons was a drawdown on the reserves which were, or the stocks which were lying there. So what is going to happen now? If this 35 million tons is not imported, our imports become 140 million tons plus some 35 million tons of these and incremental 5% or 6% growth which takes place, 200 million tons roughly. And that is what is anticipated even in the foreign trade estimates, etc., for the country and their financing. And luckily for us, the international price of thermal coal has come down drastically.
Okay.
Because the demand from China is much lower than in the past. In China, they have become environmentally more sensitive compared to in earlier years. And it is possible today to get FOB coal at about $60 a ton.
How does it compare with the local price?
Very favorably.
Very favorably.
The reason being, and proof of the pudding, as they say, lies in eating it, already our power consumers in the private sector or power developers have placed larger orders on import of coal than they had done last year.
So they're actually covered for this kind of a situation. You would say that?
I think so. In terms of finances, yes. There are some issues, however, in terms of logistics of carrying the coal from the ports to the hinterland where these plants are located. That's an issue which will need to be addressed by railways. But railways has now for once capacity to carry more goods. They are looking for, because iron ore exports have come down.
Right.
So there is a surplus capacity in the railway system where coal can be carried. I think the position can be managed. There is no need to panic. And in any case, the court today, the Apex Court, has given 6 months' time to these 44 plants.
To wind down.
To wind down.
What happens after that?
One of the options is that these blocks revert to the government, which they should, and then the government can nominate Coal India in the interim period till such time as these are re-auctioned.
Right.
Or these are re-allotted through an auction or otherwise. I would just like to add one other thing before I move on, that when the Supreme Court reference on that, Government of India's reference to the Supreme Court on natural resources allocation was made, the court has pointed out that there are options. In every case, we need not necessarily go by auction.
Right.
That there are other ways to go about it, depending upon the nature of the raw material, as well as the preparedness in the system, and how to address some of these issues in the transition phase.
Right.
So, auction is a very good policy, but in the interim, in order to tide over the situation, the government's hands are not tied. It can, within the legal framework itself, do many things to mitigate the stress which will appear.
That is interesting. Prashant, would you agree with that the government's hands are not really tied, that it need not go only for auctions if there is a necessity?
So far as coal is concerned, the Mine and Minerals Act itself, 11A, was introduced, which says that if you are giving it to a private company, you have to auction. Even otherwise, you see the Supreme Court's judgment on that presidential reference on natural resource allocation says that yes, in every natural resource allocation, auction is not necessary. For example, when you are allocating water, you don't have to auction the water to every household, etc. But when you are giving away a valuable natural resource to a private company for commercial profit, etc., then they have said that any other method except one which is competitive, which means essentially an auction, would fall foul of Article 14 of the Constitution. Even in the 2G judgment, they had said that two things are essential. Firstly, fairness between the various competitors, and secondly, that the people of this country who own this resource, they must get fair compensation for this resource which is transferred to private companies for commercial exploitation. The only way that these two considerations can be met is really by way of an auction.
Okay. Prashant, very quickly, the CAG had come out with his report which had created a stir and which cost the UPA government very heavily with this, fantastic figure of 1.86 lakh crores having been lost. You think to any extent this judgment justifies that kind of a figure which the CAG had come out with?
In fact, the CAG had come out with a very conservative figure. The basis for their calculation was as follows. They first said that the cost of extraction should be treated to be what Coal India spends on an average for extraction.
Right.
Coal India, as you all know, being a public sector company, is not a very efficient company, and private companies normally spend less money, but be that as it may. Then they added a 25% marketing margin to that, to the cost of extraction. Then they said that, well, we will now look at the price at which Coal India sells coal, which is less than the international market price. And then the difference was 295 rupees a ton, which was used as the basis for arriving at this estimate of 1,85,000 crores as the loss to the government. They just multiplied the total coal which is likely to be extracted during the tenure of the lease, etc., or during the tenure of the agreement, multiplied it by the number of by 295 and arrived at 1,85,000 tons.
So this 295.
However, if you take the international market price, 295.
Prashant, the 295 figure,
yes,
which is there in the judgment now, today's judgment saying that all these companies need to pay 295 rupees per ton to the government for all the coal which they have extracted. Has it been arrived on this basis?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, it has been arrived on this basis, but as I said, this is a very conservative estimate because the international market price of coal is much more than the Coal India price, the price at which they sell.
The
Coal India price is a subsidized price.
Okay, Prashant. Let me get Mr. Dua in on this.
295 rupees is, as on a point of time, probably was the difference between the domestic price and the imported price of coal. But the coal market, as I was just referring to a little while ago, has been a highly volatile one.
Right.
It's now the other way around. Probably the international...
you think it is justified?
No, I think so.
295 which the companies have to pay is justified?
I think so.
It's justified. They can't complain about it.
I don't think they should, because over time probably that was the difference. But where I have a little bit of it is the amount of coal which could be extracted from the mines. What the CNAG did and what the figure has been banded around is multiplying the full extractable coal into 295. But we have seen how mining is done in India. You just scrape the top, you leave everything at the bottom because you're not willing to invest money, you're not willing to invest in technology.
So, but this is a problem which the miners can't blame anybody else for that except themselves.
No, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, because there's a market for the coal and we are not so strict about environment, they just do open cast mining, don't go into the pit, take out or invest money, etc.
So now they will have to pay for it, for what they have not done also.
Absolutely.
Okay, Sachi, very quickly, last words to you. You think this government, how will the government approach this? What will be you think there is any political benefit for anybody from this? Can anybody?
Of course, whatever, even though this has been there from 1993 as we noted, the principal allegations of malfeasance has been against the UPA government.
Right.
So what it did between 2004 and 2000. So this will be used by the opponents of the Congress to paint them further black. Already they've been painted, so that will be done because especially the Prime Minister and his key ministers were not involved in any administration in that way. So there will be a lot of political benefit they will try to derive.
Absolutely, and also as Prashant was pointing out, the criminal case is still, the investigations are still going on. We'll have to wait and watch what will be the outcome of those investigations. Very quickly, sir.
As you know, out of these 218 blocks, only 39 had been allotted prior to 2004. 179 blocks.
So the major burden is on the UPA government.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think on that note, sorry, Mr. Bhatt, we are completely run out of time. I wish I could have come back to you, but this is the ultimate thing that, it is ultimately the UPA government which will have to take the entire, almost most of the burden of this judgment, what has happened today. Thanks to all my guests, Prashant Bhushan, K.N. Bhatt, Sachidananda Murthy, and Ajay Dua. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, The Big Picture, same time tomorrow.